Okay, cool. So agenda is, just read again. How to send emails using Apollo, how to build the sequence and set up that 5 email sequence. Okay. Let me share my screen. I have too many tabs open. All right. So agenda, how to send emails using Apollo. This assumes she's about that you already know how to find the leads, right?
Okay. I mean, you can also show that in this video. But yeah, I do know how to search for leads, I guess.
Okay, let's keep it. I know that you already know how to do that. But okay, actually, I'll just go in here. There are two ways to start the sequence. So you can start from like generating the list first. In which case you can come here. I have saved searches already, and this is what those look like. So let me open it and show you what's in it. So this is what it's called. The persona, there's multiple persona in there. So heads of HR, learning and development managers, heads of people and culture, heads of talent, blah, blah, blah. I think I have a few other filters, but they're all like rolled up into that persona. And so this is the list. There's also like company size filter in there. There's 5 filters that I have. I can cancel all of that. And you just, if I cancel all of that, you just see all of this nonsense people show up. And so from that persona, I have created a bunch of different lists. You see, so this is that list. There's 1,908 people in it. And I can essentially go from there to, I can put them in a sequence that I've already created. So I can go here and say add to existing sequence, and then I can select all of that, right?
Okay.
Now, what is that sequence? So I have a bunch of sequences already here that are running. My teammates have a few as well. I can see what it is that they're doing. So this is my cold outreach sequence. It has 10 steps. Now, not all of those steps are emails, and I'll show you what I mean by that in creating sequence. So I can go here. So I'm trying to create a sequence. So Apollo has like 4 different options for you. Like you can clone something that you already have and then edit after. You can create an AI assisted one. You can use one of the templates that they have, but for the purpose of this, we're going to try to create one from scratch, just so that you can see what it looks like. What do we call it? Let's call it best. Right. I don't want my teammates to see it, so I'm going to say, actually, I'll say they can see it, but they can't use it. And this is the delivery schedule that I want for it. I want it to be sent during work hours between 8 a.m. and 5 p.m. Monday to Friday. You can create like different delivery schedules. Right. And then there's like an advanced, you can add tags and do all of those things. But let's go to create. And this is where it starts to become fun. So when you think of an outbound sequence, emails are just one part of it. There's phone calls, there's reaching out to there's LinkedIn connection request, there's LinkedIn message. There's also just like going to like the person, like social connections, right? Like going to like the person's LinkedIn post to stay top of mind and just catch their attention. So there's all of those different things that you can do, and you can decide where you start. So I'm starting with email. Now with email, there are my computer and okay. So with email, there's there's two types of email. There's automatic email and then a manual email. The difference is that so you can create templates for both. The difference is that before that manual email goes out, you have to actually go in there and hit send. And what that does for you is it gives you an opportunity to to change things. So based on context, if the context has changed, if you put 1,000 people in an email, chances are that you are at different levels of connection or familiarity. So someone like me, if I look at the 1,000 person list, there's a bunch of people in there that I probably already interacted with in the past. And so you want to add those one-liners that show that. And so a manual email lets you do that. So I'm putting manual email as the first step of my sequence. And I'm saying that this should start immediately. Like once a contact is added, then prompt me to do something. The priority is high. You can put a description, right? So that when the task comes up, you know what you're trying to do. You know why this step is important and what you should do in this step. So I'm putting a note here to say, right? And that's what I'm trying to do. So I can hit continue. Right. So now I have to create the content for that manual email, like the main thing that I'm trying to put in that manual email. Let me look for something generic to use here, just so that you can see what it looks like. To look for an email that I sent to someone. Okay, I found one. Coming back here. So these two windows show you. The first one is where you do all of the work. This one on the right here, where my cursor is at, shows you what it will look like. Right. So this looks like typically this I would consider this to be slightly too long, but because there's a lot of personalization in there, like we actually I met this person in person. Like we had like a 30-minute conversation, maybe even a 1 hour conversation. We had drinks together, we did all of that. I have his phone number, so I feel like this first email is good, even though it's maybe slightly long. But this is what it will look like. If I wanted to, and you can come here. So this is where personalization even makes more sense. You can come here and add links. So I might say, I want to add a link to a brochure, a link to a website. So see our course catalog here, right? I can come and insert the link to the course catalog. Right, and I can save that. I can add an actual document, and the good thing about this, and different from Instantly Chizoba, is that if you add the document, it actually attaches and like gets sent throughout the sequence. Like you don't have to add a link to an external thing. You remember we had that challenge before. So this definitely solves it. You can also, so the challenge with this email that I've written is that I've put a first name. Right now, because it's a manual step, it may not matter too much because I'll come and change it. But actually what I should do is use a dynamic variable and say first name. Now, if I was creating this sequence for the rest of my team to be able to use it, one of the things that I will also do is remove my first name and change this to so sender name, right? So the changes that I'm making, you will see that it's showing up on this side. So sender name, it already knows that this is my account, so it has replaced it. If I get this variable wrong, you will see that it's not showing up correctly on the right. So you have to, well, this helps you see that it's wrong and you can go and change it. So you see here that the name has changed. Now, if I wanted to see a proper preview, I can choose an actual contact and see what it will look like when I email them. There are a bunch of other things you can do. There are a bunch of other things that you can do with these things at the bottom here, right? You can add a snippet, you can add a video, you can add a video here. You can add a calendar link for them to actually book a meeting, right? So this meeting is booked on Apollo. It links to your calendar. So essentially, instead of using Calendly as an external tool that you pay for again, you just use this, right? You can, so I don't know if you remember, but there was a time that I talked about building a calendar in such a way where it will just round robin. So it will go to the person that's available rather than they're having to assign it to an AE. It just picks, or this type of lead, if it has less than 100 employees, then you assign it to this AE. Like all those types of workflows you can set up and use within Apollo. Okay, so we spent quite a lot of time on email one. So I'm just going to save this and say that it's done. Step one is done. I can send a test email. Another thing that I can do is I can actually use Apollo's suggestions for email. And you can see here, so this is the AI assisted email. This is suggestion on subject line. I can say, I don't like this. And they can try to give me another one. This is because I've also not put a subject line here, right? So I can say, right? And that would be this subject line. Okay, so email one is done. So I'm adding step two, and you can also do A/B test. I can put a second email. I can put a second email, and actually, let me use this one. Yeah, this one. Yeah, or I can use this one, right? And then save. So essentially, it will split the recipients by this email. It will send 50% to this guys, 50% to, it will send this one to 50% of the people. Anyway, you get what I'm saying. And so I'm then going to add step two. Step two, I'm saying, is an automatic email. And I'm saying that it should send it 3 days after the previous step. Right? There's something that I want to show there, but let me. I need to find a placeholder email to use. Let me see. Okay, actually, I can. So my email is, hey, first name, right? Okay, so this is my second email, and you see this option to reply to the previous thread, so it's not a separate email. And you again, the preview will show you what it will look like to the person, right? And you can see that it has pulled my signature exactly how it is from my email, right? So this is, so for you to generate the email, you would see, I mean, for you to use the AI generated email, you would see these options. So is it, and you see the prompt, blah, 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 and you can generate. Okay, so this is the follow-up email. Again, I can use this and I can use it in A/B test. Maybe let's use this for, actually, if you're replying to the last email, you will not see that option for a new, yes, continue. Yeah, so similar to what it was that I was saying, and then I'm saving this. I can add A/B test. Now, another thing that I could have done, even though this email is 3 days away, is 3 days apart from the first one, it's possible for me to have added other steps in between. Like after I sent the first email, I could have also sent them a connection request. I can do it immediately after that email went out, or I can sort of put a space in between. I can do 1 day. I can say it's medium priority, and this task is very obvious, so I won't put anything here. And then you know that when you send connection requests, you have the option to put a message on LinkedIn. So you can put that message here and say, again, you can use the dynamic variables. Right? And I can save this as a template so that I can continue to use it all of the time, but no time. So this is all I'm saying in the LinkedIn connection request, and I can move this up. So I can move this, where's that thing? Yeah, I can move this to step 2 instead of 3, because it's now happening right after the email. I turn it on here. Right after the first email, I now wait 4 days. Well, I wait 3 days after this to send the second email, which is now 5 days in total. You get that? Next step for me is a phone call. So I'm saying if I send you an email on Monday, I send you a LinkedIn request on Tuesday, I send you another email on Friday, I then want to wait 3 days to Tuesday again to call you. You can put a call script here, you can put whatever it is you want in the notes, and you can, right? So day 8, I'm calling. Remember, I had sent a LinkedIn connection request on day 2. So now I can say, I can assume that they have accepted my request, or I can hope that they would have accepted my request, and then I can say, let me send them a message on LinkedIn 3 days later. Go ahead if you have your hand up. I can't see.
Yeah, thank you. So I wanted to ask a question specifically about this. I wanted to wait to the end, but let me just ask. Do you get a notification? Oh yeah, you do get a notification on LinkedIn when they accept, but like, does it?
You get it here.
Yeah.
I don't think so, but I'll show you what it looks like here. I'll show you
Okay.
something that I think is really cool. It's called tasks.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, so whatever message you want to send, continue. Yeah, so that's the wait, what did I just do? Okay, so that was notes. Yeah, so I have to put in the message here. Let's make sure your template has a exactly. So it's saying I should go and edit this template and put an actual message because what I'm doing is sending a message. So again, I'm saying maybe a short form of the email that I'd sent. Hey man, I sent you a couple of emails last week. Check in to see that you got them. Of course, messages would be more like would be better, maybe more respectful, but this is okay. So there's that. Now, another thing you can do is you can say, go and view their LinkedIn profile right after the message so they know that I checked. You can say, go and interact with their LinkedIn posts. And this one, you can even do it like you can create multiple. Let's move it again. Yep, go ahead.
So for the interact with your LinkedIn post, you can add something generic to just say nice post, I guess.
It just likes,
Okay. Oh, there's no comments.
no, it's not.
Okay. That's
Okay. Let me man, what did I do? I shouldn't have refreshed that. Okay, so the thing is I can add, I'm sorry. Okay, so I can add as many email steps as I want. I'm just showing you all of the other things that are possible. You can add an action item, a generic one, to say this is exactly what I want to do. Like I want to call, so it may be I want to call this third party person that knows this person to say, hey, I'm trying to reach your guy. And that like, so you can add a task in there. You can like add as many email steps, as many automatic or manual email steps as possible in between. Yeah, translate this. So this thing can be like any length. You can do a 20 step, 20 touch points outreach. You know, it's up to you. Emails are not the only way. And so yeah, that is the thing. So I've now created this sequence. Remember, we started it without contacts. So you can now add it. Actually, no, before I get there. So these are the things inside of the sequence. So you need contacts, you don't have them yet, you need emails of those contacts, and then there are tasks. I think I'll use an existing sequence to show you some of the other things that I want to show. But remember, we could have gotten here from search where we create a list and then create the sequence and it automatically gets added, but we didn't do that. So we can come here and add, upload the list. You can, if you already have a list that you've saved, you can, so I have a few lists. So I can come here and pick any of these guys. I can also pick lists by my team that my team already has, right? So I can look at all of their leads. These people have a bunch of, right? But let's focus on my own. I have 3. And then if I picked this one, I add them. I don't want to do this, but I think you already know how this part works. Rotate mailboxes is that thing that we're able to do, right, where you add essentially multiple email addresses, so it's picking whichever one to send the emails from. Yep, go ahead. If you type, I can't see it unless I
Oh,
leave it in.
sorry, I was speaking. Sorry, I thought I was on. I was not on mute.
Okay.
So before maybe I'll just have to wait till you get to settings. I guess that's where we'll fix up all the mailboxes.
Yeah.
Okay. Let me
Yeah.
just.
Okay. So another way you can add contacts is by just using the Apollo search thing. So if you have specific people, you can like find them. So
Okay.
let's
So
try to.
you can add people even after you create the sequence or
Oh, yeah.
before new one.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
So I can add this person.
That's what's showing. Interesting.
Yes. So we have to verify that their contact makes sense. Look at the email that they still have.
Crazy.
I can add them here. All right. Let's search for this guy.
Tayo.
All right. And we can access his email. Right. You can access his number. I can add him to the list. You can see his company details here. So I do this and I save and add. Right. So I can add a sequence. I can add him to another sequence that already exists, or I can create a sequence for this guy.
Quick question here.
Mm-hmm.
If you add, say for example, you create a bunch of lists, you know how when you're list building,
Mm-hmm.
have like you can have like 1K contacts and you don't really have the time to go through every one of them.
Mm-hmm.
If you add one contact to like 3 different sequences, what does Apollo do? Is it smart enough to like flag and say and not send to that
Yes.
same?
So what would happen is actually what I can do. I'm going to have to delete this again, but let's go back.
Okay.
Let's go here. Let's add contacts, select a list. Let's say this list.
Mhm.
Let's say here. So you see what's happening here.
Mhm.
So it's saying that of those people, 14 of them are in an existing sequence. You can check which sequences they're in.
Okay.
So they're in this sequence that I have. Do you want
Mhm.
to, if you want to add them, then you click here.
Okay. If I
Um,
don't, so I leave it unchecked. Okay.
yeah, so those 14 people don't get added. If you, it's also saying that there's one person that was in a sequence that has now ended.
Okay.
This is that person. So and I can explain why. Like this person, when I uploaded the list, I looked at Deji. I'm like, oh, I know like Deji is my friend. He's CTO at Seamless HR. And actually at the end of the event, of the CIPM event, as I was leaving, it was like, Tayo, I'm in Abuja till next weekend. Let's hang out tomorrow. So like I will Deji say let's hang out tomorrow, and I'm sending a code out to Deji. Like I should just be calling his phone, right? So and then there are 25 people with more than one issue. Like so this one is already in one other sequence and it has like an unverified email. This one does not even have an email at all. So it's already telling you like where you're going to have issues.
Okay. That's good.
So it will even tell you if they are in sequences that are owned by your colleagues and not you. So
Okay.
your company is already emailing this guy. So do you still want to? Now you can ignore, but it will just affect your deliverability, right? So yeah.
Okay. That then leads me to my next question. If your My understanding is that this is a free account, correct?
No, this isn't.
This is not a free account.
No.
Okay, cool. On a free account, because I'm guessing that's what are we going to be using a paid account?
Um, let's have that conversation at the end. Let's get through
Okay.
this.
So
Yeah.
my
Okay.
question, okay, or should I wait till we're
Is
done?
it? Yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah, I wanted to ask if in terms of like how much emails do we get to send? If it's
Okay.
a free account, if it's a paid account, or is there a cap on it? Is everything free?
Okay.
You know,
We'll get to that.
okay.
So I want to show you now an email that a sequence, rather an outreach sequence that has been deployed, and what it
Okay.
looks like, and maybe a few things that I've learned as well
Okay.
over the last few months. So if you, because of Google's challenge with like limiting emails, not only Google, like email service providers essentially,
Mm-hmm.
um, but also because of like things like open rates and things like it tries to, and domain health rather. So Apollo tries to make sure that it's optimizing the send, the times and the number that of emails that it sends. My email account is currently limited to a maximum of 50 per day. That's the recommendation. I can do more if I want, but that's the recommendation.
Okay.
And so if you have a sequence that has, let's call it 5 emails being sent over 15 days, right? That means every customer will get, every prospect will get 2 emails a week, right? Two
Okay.
emails a week for the first couple, and then one in the third week, 15 working days.
Okay.
If you are limited to 50 a day, it means you can only send 20, you can only send to, what's the math that I'm doing? Mixed up in my head. But the
Yeah,
point,
I get it. Yeah, I get it. Just
but the point is that if you have 1,000 people in your sequence, by the time, and it's trying to send email 1 to everybody,
Mhm.
by the time, before it gets to the end of email 1 for like the people from 900 to 1,000,
Mhm.
it would need to have sent email 2, and email, like those days would have gone through, and this ones would already have been waiting.
Mhm.
Right, so Apollo should prioritize those email 2 and 3 for those ones. Otherwise, like the sequence just breaks. It's too, the emails will be too far in between each other. Right. So that's one challenge, which the way that I'm solving is by creating sequences that have, if there's a lot of emails in there, then you should reduce the number of people in that particular outreach, and sort of just pace yourself. The other way to manage it is to spread out the time between email 1 and email 2, for instance, right? And the time between email 2 and email 3. And so this is an ongoing sequence. I can look at the contacts that are in there. I can see like a summary of what has happened. This person has replied. So there's an email that hasn't been sent because they've replied, and I've picked it up manually, right? A bunch of these ones bounced. These ones are in step 2. So they've received step 1. They're now waiting to receive step 2. That's what this means. You see what I'm saying?
Mhm.
It's saying to me that this person has a new job, and so I should go in and check to see if the email is still right, or if the outreach is still relevant to them. If their new company still fits my ICP, right? So you get those kind of things. You can see the ones that have not been contacted. You can see the ones that have been contacted. Another thing that this lets me do is to actually look at So you know that when you build the list, you don't look at each lead properly. And so this gives me a chance to also just like look at them sometimes, like do some more research on the lead. Okay, and then you can look at the ones that have been contacted, the ones that have replied. You can look at the ones that are interested. You can see the ones that are not qualified. You can still remove people from the sequence at this point. Like you can like stop the email from going out. So this Venko lady, for instance, I know her. I'm saying like I don't want to email her. I already have access to her. Right. So you can still do that even at this point. I removed this guy because I know him. Like I just ended the sequence for him. Right. So the other thing, so you can look at like emails. You can still change things, right? Even at this point, you can change things. If you go and edit the email, it changes for everyone that has not been, that has not received it. You can, because of this deliverability score and the number of emails per day, sometimes it just holds back on sending. But you can then see, also it's the weekend. So my rule was for this thing to send Monday to Friday, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I can go in and decide to send it right now if I wanted. So I can send this email right now. Right. I can look at this person, disruptdna.com. Looks like a big company. Maybe she's working on Saturday morning. I send it. Right. So there's that. You can see the ones that are delivered. You can see not opened. All right. So that's the part for creating these things. You can look at the phone calls that are due, or this is phone calls that you've made actually. Not that are due. I'll show you the ones that are due. There's like a general report here that you can look at. You can see the types of people that are interested, the ones that are not, like all of this. But I think one of the greatest parts of this tool for me is tasks. So all of, especially LinkedIn tasks. So all of those ones around sending connection requests, liking people's posts, or sending a message. So I have 162 of those due. You can see them here broken down into, so I have 104 connection requests to send, and I have 43 people to send a LinkedIn message. I have 15 people that I'm supposed to interact with their posts. I can essentially just come here, select all of this, all of them, and I can hit execute tasks. You know what happens when I do this? It takes me to another tab. Let me share that tab. And it essentially starts to execute those tasks on my behalf. And so you see, just 1 second. So the way you'd have had to do this is sending it one after the other. But look at the bottom left of my screen. You can see interact with posts, tick, is done. It has found a recent post to go and interact with, right? And then it's moving on to the next one. So you see that this person is already a connection, because early on in the stage of in an earlier stage of this sequence, I had sent a connection request.
Mm-hmm.
So it's going to execute all 160 odd tasks for me. Some of them won't be possible because some of the LinkedIn pages don't exist. Some of them have not posted anything recently, but I'm not having to do it manually anyways. I'm finding all of that out. right? So I sent this connection request to this guy. Yeah, so that will happen in the background. I'm gonna go back to here. Yeah. Okay. So I think that in terms of like creating a sequence and executing them, we've covered that. In terms of being able to search, again, you know how to do that. It just depends on like being clear around the ICP. What's the final thing? Yeah.
Set emails.
Say that again.
I think settings, adding multiple emails. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Let's go. Actually, I think that. Okay, so all of that happens here. So you can see manage mailboxes here.
Okay, if you click on it, let me see. Manage sending emails under each. Okay, yeah, I even wanted to ask if we're gonna be using this, that means interesting. If we're gonna be using this, that means you have to use your personal.
Let me. So if there are questions, if there are specific questions around like how we're using it for what we're doing, let's undo that after so that we can use this recording for something else.
Okay.
Yep. So we can undo that after we stop recording.
Okay.
Okay, but this is how to link mailboxes so that you can do that, rotate multiple email accounts then.
Okay.
Right. You can also set up like phone numbers. I don't know if they have like Nigerian phone numbers right now, but you can set up phone numbers and be able to make calls from within the thing. This is users, teams, permissions, all those type of things. Yep. This is where you set up personas. You can do territories. This is where you do subdomains. You can look at, like, this is on a company level, so you can look at all of your rule sets, schedules, alerts, all those things. All right. So I'm going to stop the recording and then we can take those specific questions.
Okay.
This is saying that 10 a.m. on Saturday is a great time to send emails. Or this is when people are opening our emails, essentially. Tuesday. Tuesday or Saturday. Okay. So I'm going to go and add Saturday morning to my there's something else. Yeah, Saturday at 10. Interesting. 4 a.m. Why are people opening emails at 4 a.m.? People like me. Okay. Yeah. So thank you for the time. Let me stop recording and you can